Got a Korea in the chat. What's up, Korea? Shout out to Korea, man. I don't know what you said, but what's good, bro?
South Korea, North Korea, like
Paulie Pockets, what up?
Paulie Pockets, what's going on? I want to make sure we salute. We get whatever Korea he's a part of. Make sure they feel good because I don't want no smoke with North Korea. So if you North Korea, shout out to y'all. If you South Korea, shout out to you. South. All right, yeah. Okay.
Now hold on. Oh, South. Okay, yeah.
All right. Like, DMX, like he might not be, one of the greatest rappers of all time, right? But you'll go with him and you'll say at any given point he was the biggest rapper of all time. And I think,
star.
He was a rock. Like he was out in the time where there was Hove, there was not like all of that, and he was number one. And when you look at somebody like Hove, he's been here forever. And this is a fuck Hove podcast until further notice. But capitalism and shit. But this nigga Hove is the greatest. Like he on every aspect. But you can argue for many years he wasn't the biggest artist. That's where you there's runs where there's you got X 50 and 03. There's we've seen shit that has just been nukes. Like when they dropped it was a nuclear bomb.
You can't tell the story of hip hop in New York, which is one of the most influential hip hop cities in the world, without talking about DMX, and that really says it all.
Yeah. But even 50, that's what I'm saying. And we can take it to the 0350 where I'm from Queens, dog. From 2000 to 2006, that G Unit shit, bro. That was you had Dipset too, obviously. We will give respect to Dipset. But when 50 Cent, when Get Rich or Die Trying dropped in 2003, I wanted to get shot so bad. I think that's what you gotta go. I wanted to get shot.
I can always say, I've been on a bunch of teams. I played 15 years pro, 5 years college. I've been around a bunch of teams, and that's honestly the first time I ever been on a team where it was no beef, no fighting, no arguments, none of that shit. I've never seen that. I've never been on a team like that, and it was because it was such a great mixture of veterans and young dudes. But it was the right young dudes. It wasn't like Shump was I think it was his second year.
Yep.
It was this Copeland. All the dudes that was young was they were good people, and they was hoopers. They was real hoopers, and they came to work every day. We just had a great mixture of dudes, man. And the veterans was the coolest veterans you could ask for. You know what I'm saying? These dudes like Marcus Camby and Kurt Thomas, and even Rasheed. Rasheed didn't really play that much, but he was such a vocal dude every day. You know what I'm saying? Even when we brought Kenyon Martin, we brought Kenyon in, and then we brought Quentin Richardson in. These dudes right here are so well respected, and they really rock with us. Even though they came late, as soon as they came in, they just ingrained themselves with the team. You know what I'm saying? So I just remember just the plane rides. You know what I'm saying? The plane rides is playing Boo-Ray with them dudes. I'm talking about rich dudes. I'm playing Boo-Ray with dudes that's coming on the plane with 15K. Raymond Felton and them, they just taking cars. If you know anything about Boo-Ray, they got bad cars. They taking 5 every time because they got the bag. So they don't care. You know what I'm saying? Just playing, just being around these type dudes all the time. And it was kind of how big I looked at the big three. You know what I'm saying? Because the best thing about the big three is you get to be around these dudes that you kind of idolize your whole life. You know what I'm saying? I hang out with Charles Oakley every weekend. Charles Oakley is my man. I play cards with Charles Oakley every weekend. You know what I'm saying?
You look like he don't take no shit when he playing cards either.
Man, Oak is Oak is the GOAT, right? Oak is the coolest dude, but he ain't taking no bullshit from nobody. I done seen so many instances where he just hey, some outside dude, you know what I'm saying? He ain't going. So but Oak is my man. So Gary Payton, seeing these Dr. J, the coolest dude, this is that's why I had in my locker room every day. I had Jason Kidd every day in my locker room. You know what I'm saying? Rasheed Wallace is one of my favorite players coming up. He was one of my favorite players, dog. He was one of my favorite players. When he played for the Bullets, when I was coming up in DC, he was him and Chris Webber was my favorite dudes. Every day I would get to play with these dudes. Then Melo's 1 year younger than me. He's 1 year younger than me and grew up in Baltimore. But Melo's one of my favorite players to ever, he's one of my favorite players. And it's weird saying that because he's younger than me, but he's still one of my favorite dudes to watch play basketball. You know what I'm saying? So, like, JR is like my guy. That's the guy I hung out with most of the time. And Shump lived in my building. JR is the when we go out somewhere, I'm hanging out with JR. And, like, those are the relationships I built, and I still, talk to them dudes sometimes. So it's dope.
We have hairline excellence in the building today, so we definitely had to bring out this special topic for us. But we got to figure out our hairline Mount Rushmore,
okay? Especially
because we got Mari in the building today.
All right.
So this is a very important topic for the Black delegation. So we gotta and we were talking about this off air for a second. But Raz, you did make a great point. You got to see a hairline that's been through some duress. You know what I'm saying? Like Tatum got a nice hairline, but he's still 20, bro. We need a decade of trauma to see how that hairline standing up to really know.
Yeah. Yep. I agree.
So who we talking in the hairline Mount Rushmore?
No, we said we discredited Paul George because it eats his face. It's too much hair.
His hairline is too tiny to be considered. His shit look like, you remember the Nokia playing Snake? Like his shit look like that. I'm not considering him. Yeah. If I had to put so it's 4, right?
Yeah.
Off the rip, I'm going Jalen Rose. Yep. One, he from the city. One, his shit is like immaculate.
Laser.
I'm going Jimmy Jackson.
Woo! Shout out to fucking Jimmy Jackson, bro.
I'm going Jimmy Jackson.
Fab Five, I see.
I'm going Joe Johnson.
Yeah.
Yo, wait, hold on. Jimmy shit ain't flinched yet.
Yeah, nah, for real.
Like Jalen gets all the love, but Jimmy shit still sturdy after all these years.
He out here, yeah. I'm going Joe Johnson.
Yo, like, hold on. You gotta put Juwan shit. Yo, what the fuck was in the Fab Five, bro?
It's Detroit. Listen, bro, I'm telling you, son, the city is like that, bro. You find you a good barbershop where you can go in there and talk shit and buy you a DVD and get a good line.
I'm gonna have to go out there for a minute.
Got to, bro. I'm telling you. I'm going out there in March for my birthday, bro. I'm telling you.
It took you to find that barber in the A.
My barber who I got right now is actually from the Bronx, and I found him down here after I moved down here 2 days after the Giants won the Super Bowl in 2012, and I didn't find him until early 2013. Before that, I was freelancing, I was trial and error. I was like, yo, I'm talking to my hairline in the mirror, listen, I promise I ain't gonna put you through this much longer. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. And I found him, and that's the day that I got my shit locked up by him. I locked his number in my phone. I said, yo, bro, thank you. And that's it. And I still go to him right now. I'm gonna tell you me and my barber relationship right now. I got the URL app, right? I gave my barber my login information for my URL app, so he ain't gotta pay for it. Watch all you battle you want, son. You family now. You know what I'm saying? I'm dead serious. Bro,
that's love. No, that's love, bro.
And then fourth, I'm putting me. Fuck it. Fuck it. I'm putting me. I ain't gonna lie.
Shout out to Melo too, man. Melo hairline.
His shit withstood a divorce, a baby,
braids twice,
break baby,
bro,
and braids twice.
Yo, you know what? Fuck it, Melo 4. Fuck it. You're right. He got braids twice.
Son,
that's insane. And you know what's crazy? His hairline right now might be iller than it was back then when he had braids the first time.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Melo 4. Fuck it. That's it. Yeah, Melo 4.
That's fucking that. Yo, that's a perfect way to end it because we pro Melo on the show.
Yeah, always.
We don't tolerate Melo.
Listen, when Melo Hall of Fame ceremony, whenever it happened, whether you got braids or not, you better go buy a braid wig or something to show up at that shit with the Stop Snitching shirt on too. We there.
I'm gonna be like this.
I have the sour end of VSOP on deck when Melo Hall of Fame introduction.
Yeah, we there. 100% we there. I'm there. So I'm whether I got I'm growing my hair out right now, but I'm gonna have braids regardless. Whether I cut my shit again, I'm putting a braided wig on with the Stop Snitching shirt from Melo.
Show, man. I feel like I think it's a good time to at least touch upon it a little bit. Melissa and Tony mentioned, you said Tony's awesome. No clue what you guys are talking about, but still watching. Shout out to you, Melissa. That's the shit I'm talking about. We gonna bounce around. I can't. This is not gonna have a distinct format. We just fucking around
shit today, man.
We just talking shit, genuine conversation, and just bouncing around. Now, Tony. we could cover what needs to be covered. You know, taking it back to the infamous night on Twitter. You know, as like I just remember I saw it all happen on the timeline. All in front of me. I don't remember what the first tweet, but it was something about like the whole experience of watching soccer and then going viral. The whole experience is wild. Like I seen this shit happen. Like I know my mom watches Good Morning America every day. This nigga was on Good Morning America, dog. This nigga was getting interviewed by it was Kelly Ripa and Michael Strahan, right?
Yeah, it was cool.
This nigga was interviewed by Kelly Ripa and Michael Strahan.
Don't be so casual about the shit. That
was crazy. That was crazy.
That shit is
that's premium cracker TV. No offense, man. that's front page.
I was actually gonna fly out there, but they was like they wanted me to get on like a flight the next day. But like, well, you kind of did this online, so we're gonna kind of have to like do the thing online, like just to make it online. Yeah, that was crazy.
That's like, all right, so take it back to like I want to know because first of all, we all know if you have a lot of like followers, you know that shit is overrated to begin with. Like once you get beside the monetization point, so and I know I've
never been there. I don't got it.
No, but
I've never touched the mountaintop.
I can see that. I can see the things. I can see the things that you know happens in the bullshit that goes through. But bro, like we've all been there to the point you get a viral tweet and your phone was just buzzing. Like take me back to that night after the tweet, and you was literally just like live tweeting watching a hockey game, and the shit just kept building and building. Next thing you know, SB Nation's picking it up. Fucking, I think it was on Sports Nation and it's everywhere. Like, what do you remember from that night, bro? Like that
night. It was the night. Like that whole moment is like a blur. Like, I don't know how it even started. Like, I was looking for the Cardinals game, but then I just found like that's what literally happened because it was a Blues playoff game. I'm looking for the Cardinals game. I'm like, wait, man, it's hockey. This shit kind of lit. I don't know.
What the fuck is a power play?
Right, like what the fuck is a power play? I didn't know. I've never seen. I watched the Mighty Ducks, but before that, I'd never seen hockey before. I've never watched this shit before. But like,
when the goalie said,
"Fuck it," and leave. The funniest tweet, he was like, "Bruh, white people been hiding hockey from us for years, bruh." Which is facts. Which is facts. They actually do shit like that on purpose because, like I said, they don't want niggas to. We'll take over hockey too. Mark my words.
We don't
got ice skating rinks in the hood. But if we did, and niggas learn how to skate, you best believe we gonna be on that shit, fucking killing. But they do that shit with golf, lacrosse. You know, they keep that shit for themselves. But yeah, bro, like that shit was so crazy to me, Tony. Like, I mean, another question I had was like, who's the most random like follower that you got from that experience? Yeah.
Oh man. I don't like it was just I don't know, just like important people following me. Like I just like why you follow like it's like I just like because I'm still me. I'm just tweeting stupid shit out all the time.
Word. I appreciate that about you, man. I appreciate
important people follow me, but I would say I don't know, man. It's a lot. I don't know. I don't know. I'll say I probably guess
like dog, I don't who?
Said Michael Strahan.
Michael Strahan, bro. I don't.
Hey, that's dope.
I'm not even a jealous nigga like that. I don't get jealous. Like jealousy is not really one of my traits. It's at the bottom of things that like I just don't get jealous about the niggas. This nigga Tony was on Lisa Ann podcast. I was very jealous. I was very jealous. This nigga was on Lisa Ann. I was hating. I'm like, nah, this nigga not even. I'm like, he ain't even deserve that shit.
K-Lou pop back in the comments in 2 seconds.
I'm like, Lisa, this nigga. I'm like,
she's
bro.
Cool.
I'm like.
She's cool. She's cool.
I was in that shit. Hey, I'm like, nah, come on, Lisa Ann. Lisa Ann, come on the podcast, please.
I'll put in a good word for you.
God, you please, man. Please.
Wait, the Lisa Ann?
Yeah. What other Lisa Ann will we talk about, bro?
Bro, I mean, look.
I don't know who's the other most notable Lisa Ann.
That's
not
fair.
The one from South. You know what I'm talking about, but that don't count.
That's wow. Anywho, let's move forward.
I'm just going. Who else is Lisa Ann, bro?
No, you're right. I'm not.
He said it's English.
I was like, geez, I'm just trying to confirm. Like, I don't know, but I mean, how was that? I mean, what kind of
what are we talking about?
Podcast experience?
No,
it's supposed to be.
It was just sports, man. We're just talking about sports. I don't even remember. I don't even remember what happened. It was basically sports.
It was in person. It was in person or virtual?
No, it was virtual.
It was over the pandemic.
Come on, man. What are you talking about?
I don't know. Lisa ain't got plenty of money. She can fly you out too.
Yeah.
That's probably more than 40, right?
Definitely more than 40, bro.
Yeah, wow.
We're not trying to mess up any of your political collects.
Nah. I mean, Matt, if you want to talk some dirty Cardinals, bro, the floor is yours, bro.
Man, so where do we want to start? Would you rather us talk about?
Yeah, like I said, to tie everything back, what were those conversations like for you guys about Devin Booker? And even as somebody who didn't really get to, he didn't get a chance to spread his wings on that Kentucky team, but what was it for you guys as an organization that really made you guys target him? And I don't know if like this was what you guys saw for him turning out, but what was it that really stood out to you about him specifically?
I'll tell you this. This is just for me, right? This is my own scouting thing. Couple things with Devin. Number one, I was from working in basketball at Nike. Shout out to the Missouri Tigers. That's one of the programs that I work with when I was at Nike, and had great relationships with the coaching staffs there. There's some from Mike Anderson to Frank Hayes, now Conzo Martin. So great relationships there. And when Missouri was recruiting Devin, Devin's dad played at Missouri. Devin's dad, Melvin Booker, was at the time when the Big 12 was the Big 8. Melvin was the Big 8 player of the year. So I knew that Devin came. So I knew Devin personally. So I knew what type of a kid he was. I knew what type of a situation he was coming from. I knew the training ground that Devin was coming from. And that was some inside information for me from my time at Nike. But the other thing, too, with respect to Devin is, again, this is why I stay away from stereotypes and putting people in boxes, going back to what you guys were saying about Jonathan Isaac, because Jonathan Isaac is thin and has some perimeter skills. Kevin Durant. He's not Kevin Durant, right? But that's not disrespect. They
said about Kevin Knox too, man. I almost was like, bro, what are we doing, man?
But no. But Sean, I'm not saying it as a knock to that prospect. I'm saying it as people evaluate that kid in that lens, and then when that kid doesn't play like that, they think that kid is a failure. Mm-hmm. So that's where, to Raz's point, people are talking about with Jonathan Isaac. Oh man, he didn't play. No, he's not Kevin Durant. He doesn't play like that. Stop trying to make him into a 6'11" or 7 feet tall 2-guard or 3-man, because that's not who he is. This dude is a 4 that can give you some 5. That's what he is. So when people evaluate him in that lens, now they look at him differently, if that makes sense what I'm saying. And so
100%. Like,
right?
It's literally all about perception, honestly, and how
no
people
question.
So
people like they do a disservice to the kid when they do that, right? And so I say that because, case in point, when you look at Devin, people underestimated his athleticism and they underestimated his toughness, because his look comes with a certain perception from a scouting standpoint. I'm talking about how he physically looks. That comes with a certain, right? Go ahead, Raz.
Yeah, no, I like out of that same draft, like even with Devin Booker, because he was sitting there, what was he, 13th? 14th? Yeah, like 13th. So it was just like he wasn't really, the best player on that Kentucky team either at that point. You know what I'm saying? So you want to think where you're like, wow, like, is he, that's why he went to 13th. And I had him grouped around a very distinct player that I don't even want to mention on the pod right now, because it shows that I was really off on that draft. But Rashad Vaughn from UNLV.
I was a big fan. UNLV.
UNLV. Like I thought he had real microwave potential. and I thought wherever he was going to land,
it wasn't true in NBA.
It wasn't. It was false. I thought he was going to land between 15 and about 22-ish, to where you get him there and you get somebody that can really fill it up off the bench. You're like in a good mode. So when I saw him go before Booker, I'm like, damn, really? Like, what did I miss? Right? Like, at this point, like, obviously big fan of basketball, but I don't think my eye was as trained as it is now with just the amount of film and just the amount of stuff that we watch in our spare time at this point. Back then we were still running the streets. So it was one of those things where we were kind of just watching it when it came on. So Devin Booker, I missed a lot of the key elements of his game, to where his ability to get to his spots whenever he wanted to on the court, the handle go ahead.
That's exactly what I'm saying, right? What you're saying, because let's just be honest, because Devin is light skinned, people thought he wasn't tough, and people thought he wasn't athletic.
Yeah,
right. That's what I'm saying. That's why I stay away from comparisons, and you got to scout each player for who they are, and stop putting them in these boxes to make it easy for you to understand them, right? And that's what we do a lot. And when that player doesn't fit in that box, is either one or two things happens. That player either explodes outside of that box, or that player doesn't fit that comparison and you think that guy's a failure. It's like, no, he's not a failure. He just doesn't fit in the box that you put him in, right? And so we do that a lot with players. And so with Devin, people underestimated how tough he is. People underestimate how athletic he is. You just spoke to that, Raz, about him getting to his spots. He's tougher than what people think he is, and he's more athletic than what people think he is. Now, the thing that stood out to me at Kentucky about him is going back to that original point that I made. There are a lot of guys that led NCAA, that lead Division I in scoring, and they can't play with other great players. They don't know how to get to their spots. They don't know how to be efficient getting to their spots. Don't know how to play with other scorers because they are used to ball being in my hands. I make all the decisions. So we got to give you, if you're telling me the only way you can be successful is we got to give you the ball and let you do whatever the hell it is that you want to do, then you better be damn good at doing that, right? You better be Allen Iverson. You better be Kobe. If that's what you're telling me, you better be damn good at that. And as we know, most guys aren't that good. And that's not to them. It's just that's how great Kobe and Iverson and those guys are, right? So Devin, not being the man at Kentucky, was able to get his shots efficiently, was able to knew how to play with other great players. He already knew that. People forget this. When we drafted Devin, if you look at before our guys went down with injuries, if you look early in Devin's rookie year, there's some DNP CDs. Mm-hmm. There are some DNP CDs. Did not play coach's decision, right? And that was when we had a healthy squad. Then our guys started to go down. That's when Brandon Knight went down.
Brandon Knight, right? Yeah, Brandon Knight. Yep.
Eric Bledsoe went down. Our guys started to go down. Then it was like, all right, we got to play these young guys now. And so there are a couple of things that are at work with Devin that people underestimated. The other thing that happens as well with Devin is we always attribute upside to athleticism, getting stronger. Smart guys and tough guys get better. Guys that love basketball get better. Guys that inherently love the game, organically love the game, they get better because they're going to get in the gym without you telling them to get in the gym, right? Devin got better. Devin took the lessons. One of the things that we would talk to Devin a lot about, and you really start to see this come to life in the bubble, we would talk to Devin a lot about if you really want to matriculate into that level of being a great player, you got to learn how to really incorporate others, make plays for other players. Devin just had, in game one, Devin just had his first triple-double.
Yep.
Right? So you really have to be able to do that. So Devin, and being able to be efficiently able to play with other guys, right? Help them get better. Then you get off the ball and kill and do what you do is the reason why the mix with him and Chris Paul works. Because Devin can do both. I can bring the ball up and make a play, or Chris can bring the ball up and make a play. and I can stand over here and get one. So I think there were some underrated aspects about Devin's game that people really didn't appreciate. And we were fortunate enough to get him. And, you know, the rest is history, man. That dude's a worker, man. I'm happy for him.
I mean, one of my favorite episodes. Like this has been insane. Antonio's dropped so many gems on us with Harbaugh. And what do you remember, like memories from being in Baltimore in the locker room?
Harbs, he's definitely a great coach. Like he runs. He got a program. He's strict, but he's definitely organized. Like we watch film. He will have refs in the film room, like just like explaining certain things. All right, yo, listen, you can't get away with this. You could get away with that. You know, like he was big on like the game within the game. You know, like the scouting teams. He had guys like he invested into his scouting. Like they were very personable. Even after I leave, even like after I'm going today, like scouts will still keep in touch when I was in the Jets. You know what I'm saying? Like he made you feel from the worst player on the team to the best player on the team, like you all were important. You know, and he was just big on expressing yourself and expressing your identity. You know, so Harbs was definitely like I learned so much from him, for real. Like if I would have went back, I would probably have stayed there a little longer and like invested more into learning. Like my problem was too, like I was just trying to get the bag too early. So I thought I was gonna find out between other teams, you know, but like they probably run the best football ever, like for real. Like Steve, like, and the vets it would chill, man. Like Steve Smith, Suggs at that time, it was the running back at the time, Forsett, you know, and that was a great coach, man, for real. It was a great experience.
What would you describe as like your welcome to the NFL moment? Whether it's like during one of the games or like camp, but like what was that first moment when you realized?
It was camp, bro. It was camp. Yeah, I didn't know the play. I didn't know one play. I didn't know what I was doing. So I said, "Fuck, I'm just gonna go." And the fullback, one of the fullbacks on the team, he came around to crack block. You know, they was running. It was like one of those toss plays. So
yeah. Oh my god!
From the outside, too.
Yeah, man. I'm getting up the field. I'm coming in free. I'm like, all right, I'm about to come.
You're free for a reason,
man. Had my leg, my legs flying in the air, bro. I almost knocked out, bro. I ain't gonna lie to you. Yeah, I got put down. It was tough though. Like the Baltimore Ravens training camp is one of the hardest training camps ever. You know, and physical team though. But it was great though.
I mean, and I just want to, because I want to know, because you were in Baltimore, that's a great culture.
Yeah. I already know each other. Yeah, you talking about the Jets?
My father blessed me with that infliction of being a Jets fan. Or affliction, sorry, for the listeners. And how was your time with them? I know we skip it over a patch, but we got to go from first to worst. Yeah, we got to get straight to it. Talk to me, man.
Night and day. You had more freedom, but it was just
seems like the issue.
Yeah, like from the front office to down, bro. Like people like got new guys who come in every day to replace different guys. Like they kind of didn't have an identity. They didn't know what they wanted to do.
You notice these things as a player. Like you do notice these things.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we know as fans. So
they had no idea what they were doing, man. They didn't know who to trust, you know, and then just certain plays just felt like, you know, that needed to be checked a little bit, weren't checked by the older guys, you know, and just a lot of things, bro. It was not a unit. It wasn't a unit at all, bro. It wasn't at all. It was bad.
And I can see that.
While we have your time here.
Right, let's go.
Can you please tell us a story about your time in England and the Chadwick Boseman? Rest in peace, Chadwick. Rest in peace, Black Panther. Can you please tell us this story with our fans and the listeners?
I went to University of the Arts in Philadelphia, which is a conservatory acting school, great school, and there was an opportunity to audition to go to this other program, this summer program in Oxford, in England, called the British American Dramatic Academy. And for it, I got in. A couple of my other friends from school got in. So it was like a contingent of us. And, you know, they would go to different colleges and kind of, you know, have a hold auditions at these higher end colleges. And one of the colleges they had them in was Howard. And so there's a big contingent from Howard too. And his girlfriend at the time was in my class there. And her and I were working together on a lot of stuff. And she was great. Wow. And that's how I got to meet him. And, you know, we all like, you know, hung out and would go drinking and stuff like that. You know, I mean, it's a very different culture.
It's amazing, man.
There was a
So
bar
jealous.
on campus at Oxford, like, and the teachers were there with you. It was a very different environment, but it was great. It was the greatest thing, and it was like heaven. You got to work with all these fantastic people and these fantastic teachers, and they would bring in all these amazing people to do classes with you and stuff. But I always knew him as Chad. Like, I never, like, it wasn't until like years later, like, I saw the Jackie Robinson. I remember seeing the trailer. I was like, oh, Chad's playing Jackie Robinson. Chad,
Oh,
what?
Chad.
But yeah, like, he was a
Great guy, man.
very
You
serious.
can
It's
tell.
funny, very serious guy, very serious. But like, if you could make him laugh, you know,
was
you were
funny.
kind of in, like,
Yeah.
because he was so serious about the work, which is great. We all were. But
You could tell it. You could tell it in his work.
You could tell
He
it,
takes
and you
it-
could tell how serious he took the peripheral stuff to the work too. And he did so many great things in such a short period of time. And this was kind of before email was really taking over. Like, we didn't have school emails back then. This was in the 90s. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is a long time ago. So, you know, there was no Facebook and Twitter and all that stuff. So had we all had that, I'm sure we would all stayed more in touch. Some of those people I do still, you know, I'm in touch with very much so, but you know, we had drifted, you know, just different things like that. But, you know, you come across these people in your life and stuff like that. And then it's such a surreal feeling to sit there with your kids and watch all the Marvel movies and, like, you know, and I was so proud of him. And it's funny because I remember seeing him in something and I'd be like, he doesn't look right. Like, I thought maybe he was, you know, sometimes you do stuff for roles and all these guys put themselves physically through a lot of stuff, but something seemed off. And then obviously it kind of, you know, came out of nowhere for a lot of people. But I've been very blessed. I worked with a lot of great people in that industry. I worked with a lot of great people in this industry, and I try to treat them all exactly the same when I can. And you can't always do that, but you try. You know, you try your best, and I think because you just never know, like, you know, when your paths cross, what kind of influence that has on somebody, and I think that's important. And I think, like I said, I was very lucky to. And I feel like that's part of
So 04 was your first year with the Red Sox?
Yes.
Wow,
yes,
that's crazy.
yes. Amazing ride. And then
That's insane, man.
Insane.
That's insane.
Ride. Amazing ride. And then for me to, after we win that series, and then I'm literally doing the advanced scouting report on the St. Louis Cardinals. And because I'm in World Series mode, I'm not even thinking about this is a team that I grew up rooting for. And it didn't hit me until we won Game 4 in St. Louis. And I think it may have been the last game that was played in the old Busch Stadium.
05 was last year of
05 was the last year, yeah. So they were actually building the new Busch Stadium as we come in there.
Yep.
And I remember when we were stepping on the diamond, we're celebrating. I remember standing out at home plate and looking out because at the old Busch Stadium, center field was 414. It was a straight shot. And I remember standing and looking out and thinking, I cannot believe that we are getting us one of these, right? Getting one of those.
Oh my.
I couldn't believe that we're getting one of those. And this is for me against a team that I grew up rooting for. And I'll say that, and that's important. And the reason why I say that, guys, is because when you sit in that seat, people think that when you're sitting in that seat and you're competing against the teams that you grew up rooting for, people think that, oh, you know, I'm sure you have some sort of allegiance or some sort of, you know, feeling that you have some sort of bias toward that team you grew up rooting for. And I'm telling you guys, from a competitive standpoint, and when a team is signing your checks, all of that allegiance goes out the window. It all goes out the window. You don't even think about it. Because even when I was working in scouting for the Phoenix Suns, the Lakers are in our division, right? And it's like, that's out the window.
So let me bounce this off you because I read The Yankee Years, which is the book that Joe Torre did with Tom Verducci a long way back.
Right.
And they discussed the 04 Red Sox and what made them so good. So I think Theo Epstein said in that book that in July of 04, he realized that they had one fatal flaw, which was Nomar Garciaparra's defense. And that's why they traded him to the Cubs for Orlando Cabrera. And once they shored that up, they pretty much patched up every hole on that roster. Could you back that up at all?
Yeah. And he was spot on. And I remember being in the office. I was working on a report. This went down on a Saturday. So I was working on an advanced scouting report, getting the report ready for another team. So I remember being in the office with Theo and nobody's in there and the trade is going down.
Wow.
And I remember it, and I remember how he felt, and and this was, people forget how good Nomar was.
Yeah.
People forget how good Nomar was during that era. And, because that was the trio. It was him, A-Rod, and Jeter, right? And people forget how good Nomar was and what Nomar meant to a team that the great part for me is working in the NBA, working for the Boston Red Sox. It would have been the same thing if I were working for the St. Louis Cardinals. It's one thing to work for a team. It's another thing to work for a team that has a brand that almost transcends the sport that it's in. A brand that's embedded in the social fabric of the region that it's in. The Cardinals are that, the Red Sox are that. So you're talking about a team that hadn't won anything in 86 years. And we're trading one of our two best players. And it was a lot of, but the thing about it as well is there are a lot of knowledgeable Boston fans as well. So they knew why we were doing it also. And, and one of the things that you got to be able to evaluate, and I think was great for us, is Orlando, I can tell you guys, and sometimes from time to time, people will send me the video of it. So for the day at Fenway Park, when we're playing the Yankees and the fight goes down, A-Rod and Veritas, right? I'm standing right next to Theo Epstein. I have this orange shirt on, right? And people see me on the camera, and they'll tell you if the camera is they'll see me standing right next to Theo. And I remember saying to Theo, and again, this comes from playing. And you guys know this, when you play, there's just there are certain unwritten rules that sometimes people that haven't stepped in between those lives don't understand, right? And so I remember it going down, and I remember saying to Theo, we need this. And I remember him saying, no, we don't need this because, it shows inferiority. And I said, no, it doesn't. We need this because they need to know that we ain't going nowhere. They need to know, right? And you guys know this. Sometimes there have been times whether it's a teammate, whether it's an opposing player, where I've had to take the stance competing and say, okay, something's getting ready to go down. Either you're going to get whooped or I'm going to get whooped, but somebody getting their ass whooped, right? And what needs to happen, and the reason why I'm saying that is because even if you get whooped, that person that whooped you knows I don't want it with that dude again. Because even if I whoop him, I'm going to have to work hard to whoop him. So they need to know that, right? So sometimes that needs to happen.
One time Gorgui Dieng snapped on me on Twitter, which was a whole different thing. Type in Dane Moore, Gorgui Dieng is a whole. I will surely after. It's a whole thing. But it's like it was one of those things where it was awkward for a little while, and the players I remember right afterwards I drove down to Milwaukee because there was a game, and I was there the next day, and I'm like, I don't know how this is gonna go. This is gonna be weird, And I'm just standing in the locker room, sweating. And from behind me, Taj Gibson wraps his arms around me and shakes me. And he's like, "Have you talked to Gorgui yet?" And I'm like, no, I haven't. So I don't know. Stuff happens. You kind of get a read on what each media person's about. And some media people want to have a relationship, and some just want to do their job. For me. Yeah, it's like anything else.
It's like any other job. Yeah, it's like every corporate politics, regular politics. It's just it's the same kind of thing. Everybody's personality is different, so yeah, I can see how that plays out.
And we got to learn as we go. Yeah,
for sure.
For me, I both of those. The Damian Lillard thing, I think was my first year on the beat. And that wasn't even that big of a deal. He just kind of came off hot towards me. I'm like, oh, Damian Lillard's yelling at me, but whatever, you move on. And the Gorgui thing was too. So now I've been doing it for a while, and you kind of, how to
get the rhythm of it. Yeah.
Weave your way into a if you have to ask a harder question, you gotta either have rapport with the guy or set it up in a way that they're going to be willing to answer it. Otherwise they're going to blow you off loud, or they're just going to give you a one-word answer. And at the end, that's bad either way. You want an answer.
Definitely. So I think one of the last Canadian music scene, and what would be if we talking about just like top.
Shout out Cardinal Official or whatever.
Yeah, I brought him up.
Cardinal
Official. About him, man.
Yeah.
The one time I went to out to the 6, I seen him randomly at brunch. So shout out to him. He was cool as hell. But if we talking, it's an interesting question. Once I started like picking my brain, well, if we talking top 5 musicians from Canada, you know, all time or more current, you know, if we have an actual Canadian in the building. You know, Jordan, what would your list look like? And this is the definitive draft season top 5 Canadian musicians. No pressure at all, brother. Where would you go for your own taste? You have your own music taste. You listen to eclectic music, but what would you put it for you, man?
So I'm gonna go current because I don't really mess with the older artists. I'm not trying to get into the greatest Canadian artists of all time. You know, I'm not that old yet. But for one right at the top, it's easy. It's Justin Bieber. As much as you can put Drake at the top, I'm sorry, man. Biebs, like the dude's been a star forever. Like as much as I love Drake, he's kind of fallen off. I don't see that in Bieber, man. That dude just puts out hits like crazy. You get because you get your peaches out in Georgia, right? You know that, like that you sing that in your head from time to time. You about that. So don't tell me that Biebs is number 1. Number 2 is Drake. All right, I love me some Drake. Like I said, he's fallen off a little bit in my eyes. I like the old Drake a little bit better. But number 2 is Drake. Number 3, Mr. Super Bowl himself, The Weeknd. The Weeknd is dope. All his music is sick. I'm a big fan of The Weeknd. Number 4, I'd put Daniel Caesar because Daniel Caesar's pretty dope too. He's a big time artist, and I still think he's got a lot of room to grow, especially. And then 5 is Tory Lanez because he shot Megan, and he would be a lot higher if he didn't. But he's got to be on the list because I love Tory. I love Tory, but dude's in some trouble. Dude's in some trouble. Got to bring the controversy sometimes, man. You got to bring.
We just got the problematic light is on now. It's the perfect way to,
it's on.
I would probably put Nav in my top 5 before I put Tory Lanez. And I don't even know if that's deserved. I don't even like that music.
We can't let that breathe.
No, okay, don't. He's dope. Like he's good, but let's not get crazy now. You know, like I get that mistakes were made, but he's not there yet.
We had a crucial point. We had a crucial point.
Did not shoot Meg Thee Stallion, bro. Okay.
I get that, but damn, like
I want all my black
down from talent.
That we stand with them. This is not a Tory Lanez podcast, all right? I just had to. We could
anti-Tory Lanez, anti-Jay-Z.
Yeah, put PND over Tory Lanez, bro.
Yo, you know what's funny about PND, right? So PND's dope. But there's this conspiracy among some people in Toronto. I don't know if you guys know about this. Every time PND puts out a track, The Weeknd drops something. Like almost within a week.
No,
within a week, The Weeknd drops something.
The OVO tent is real. Like it's some like nasty stuff going on over there. Like
every time PND drops something, The Weeknd just drops something random, and then he just takes all of his shine. It's pretty funny. It's like this big conspiracy here.
I think you missed a lot of people, man. You're not doing the Canadian.
Who you like?
Celine.
Celine.
Yeah, Celine.
India.
I wasn't going to bring up Alanis
I said I was going. I said I was going.
Shania Twain.
I said I was going. You appealing to my grandmother?
Avril Lavigne. You can't front on the Avril.
Yeah, you know, I don't listen to her music anymore. I did.
I'm just saying that's quality. You can't turn.
What, you on Google and you just looking up names?
Yeah. I don't know how else I'm supposed to.
I'm talking about people I actually listen to.
But
I'm not just on Google.
I'm trying to get Tory Lanez as far down the list as we can, man. You trying to fuck up the proverbial bag.
No, man, never.
Michael Bublé.
Michael Bublé. All right. No, he's not my jam, but he's good.
Nelly Furtado. Now we cooking with gas now, boy.
Oh yeah, Nelly Furtado definitely.
You gonna make some hits with Timberland,
bro. Yo,
there you go. We gotta have Nelly Furtado on the list, man.
Raw because people were hurt and people didn't expect him to say Miami, and I didn't expect him to say Miami. But what I think in retrospect, the decision is such a cultural touchstone moment because it is the sample it is a prime example of like the 24/7 news cycle and social media becoming something. Prior to that, you know, I don't think social media was a big thing. When did Twitter launch? Like 2008. The decision was 2010. You know, you didn't have all these radio shows, all these TV shows all the time, podcasts all the time. So when LeBron did that, it became a cottage industry to talk about LeBron every day. And in fact, I don't even think it was the decision that upset people the most. I think it was the not one, not two, not three, not four thing at the pep rally. And that was a pep rally that I believe was intended for just the Miami Heat fans. Like they thought it was like when a pro wrestler's like, hey, Cleveland, you know, like they were doing that for Miami, right? And but it was just at the wrong time as far as right then was when it first became apparent anything you did anywhere could be everywhere like that. And so like that went everywhere. People started talking about it, talking about LeBron, following him every day. And I think that was like almost in many ways the origin story of the current media climate from a 24/7 social media take kind of deal.
A lot of fans get way too comfortable, specifically when it gets to talking to athletes on the internet. And this is so shout out to the home team. I don't even know if you remember this specifically, but it was just jokes to me because it had to be some point during that 2012-2013 season. But basically people were making jokes, and it's always fun to make jokes. And I appreciate you because you was snapping back at fans to where they thought shit was sweet. You know what I'm saying? They don't know where we come from. We're like we roast. So it's just like first of all, I just want to say, man, like, can you talk about like fans like being too comfortable on the internet and having to bring them back? Be like, yo, I could roast your ass real quick because I come from all I know is jokes, so you can get jokes regardless.
But because like things like Twitter, bro, Twitter is all that's what I use Twitter for. It's all jokes. Like Twitter is that's what it's made for. You know what I'm saying? Twitter is straight jokes, and that's what I use it for. You know what I'm saying? That's like my comic relief. So like when I'm on there and people making like, you know, I think it's funny. Like I don't take it serious like that. You know what I'm saying? Even when, you know, I'm talking back to somebody talking about, oh, you don't play, or you just, I'm like, dude, like that's funny to me. That shit like that be funny because it's like you would switch with me in a second. Like you would switch lives with me fast. Just, you know what I'm saying? Like if you ever hooped in your life, your dream is to be an NBA player. So I don't give a damn what you talking about. Like, you know what I'm saying? So we gonna have a banter, we gonna go back and forth, and I can go all day. So at the end of the day, I'm always gonna have the leg up because I know that you really want to be doing what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? So like I always take it as jokes. That shit is just funny to me. So I never actually took it personal. I remember that shit was funny. That whole little exchange with the dudes on that day was funny as hell. Right?
You shout to the home team, man. That's my boys. Valley Stream shit, man. So shout out to the homie Koofy. Shout out to my boy Devon. You say some shit about he had a bacon collar polo on, and we was laughing at that shit and everything. But yeah, man, it's more refreshing. That's why I say, like, when it comes to like dudes like KD, and I think KD kind of realized it a little later on. He was like, bro, these are fans. So it's like you interact with them, you low-key just made their day, and you roast them at the same time. So bro, that shit is refreshing. And I think more athletes would be able to actually like maneuver through the social media stuff much easier if they had that same mentality.
They too
being like, bro, it's all jokes.
But most athletes too sensitive, and once you realize that everybody not gonna like rock with you, like everybody not gonna rock with you. You're gonna have your fans, but everybody not gonna like you. Once you realize that, and then when you realize that most of these people are really our fans, like if they seen you in real life, they rock with, like they won't ask you for your, especially like dudes like KD and Trey Young and stuff, like they gonna ask you for autograph in real life. They gonna they rock with you in real life, like, you know what I'm saying. But this is a place for them to interact. They doing whatever they can to interact with like people. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't get a chance to do shit like that, and the internet, Twitter, and shit's giving them opportunity, and like that makes a nigga day that you respond to them. That make even if you respond a way they don't want you to, that still make their day. You know what I'm saying? So like you just gotta look at it.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, just the amount of interviews that you did with those notable people, like it is very impressive. We're gonna cut this, so when we send you any of the videos to post, fuck Bob Bryant's senile ass. I just have to.
Yo, come on.
I have to get that.
Come on, man. Come on.
Bro, he's very, very
Shout out Havo.
No, Can I say this though? This guy we were talking for like 2 hours, okay, and he would not stop talking about John Havlicek. Havlicek. I'm like, dude, he's not in the top 10, man. I'm sorry. Like, he's not.
This is what I'm trying to tell you. He's like, what
he's
about
like, no, he's in there. He's there. He's there. I'm like,
well, how do you not have Hondo in there? Because it was fucking 1942. That's why.
I'm like, yeah. What about I like Shaq or Hondo? He's like, I don't trust Shaq, but I trust Hondo. I'm like, what are you talking about? What is there to trust here?
But see, I'm ridiculous for calling him C now. You see what I'm saying? Like, you know,
the guy has forgotten more basketball than I ever know in my life.
That's what I'm saying. I can't.
It's a vibe, but the Hondo thing was just so funny to me. Like, he held on to that for dear life.
Oh man, son, that's hilarious.
like he was live at the black and white games. Like, yes, he's forgotten more basketball than we've ever consumed. But at some point, the judgment is clouded. Like, we gotta start. You're not gonna sit here and tell me that Havlicek is better than Kevin Durant, but he might sit there and have
he
would say that.
He was getting there.
Oh boy.